All right, let's do this. We are about to embark on what is, without a doubt, the most epic story of all time. We're talking about a 13.8 billion year journey that starts at the very beginning of everything and ends, believe it or not, with you, right here, right now. I mean, think about that for a second. How did the universe make you? It's a massive question, right? But that's the whole point of what we're talking about today. See, this isn't some dusty history lesson about distant stars. No, this is your origin story. Every single thing that's ever happened, every exploding star, every cataclysm, it was all just one cosmic domino falling after another, leading straight to this moment. So where do we even begin? Well, our story kicks off about 13.8 billion years ago. And you probably have this image of a Big Bang, right? Like some massive explosion, but you gotta throw that idea out the window. It was way weirder and way cooler than that. It was more like a stretch. Okay, try to wrap your head around this. In a teeny tiny fraction of a second, the entire universe just inflated. It went from a point smaller than an atom to something absolutely immense. And here's the crazy part. It shouldn't have worked. By all rights, this brand new universe should have been a cold, empty void. But it wasn't. Somehow the cosmic recipe was just perfect. And that perfect recipe gave us the very first ingredients for, well, everything. We're talking gazillions of galaxies, each one just jam-packed with these hot, unstable stars. And these stars, they were the rock stars of the early universe. They lived fast, died young, and went out in these spectacular explosions called supernovas. And these explosions, they were like cosmic forges, literally creating clouds of all the new, heavier elements that we know today. And the whole time you had this one force, gravity, acting like a master sculptor, pulling all that good stuff together. So this process was happening everywhere. All across the universe, gravity was taking those clouds of stardust and squeezing them into new stars and new planets. And our little corner of the cosmos? Yeah, no exception. One of those very clouds collapsed, formed our sun, and a bunch of planets started to spin around it, including one very, very special and, frankly, very messy little rock.
And when I say messy, I mean it. Early Earth was not a nice place to visit. It was basically a ball of molten rock that, not long after it formed, got absolutely T-boned by another baby planet. The smash-up was so huge that it threw a ton of debris into orbit, and that debris eventually clumped together to become our moon. As if that wasn't enough, volcanoes were erupting non-stop, wrapping the planet in this thick, gassy atmosphere. But hey, silver lining. That atmosphere acted like a perfect thermostat, which was crucial. It kept Earth from either freezing over or boiling away.
Okay, so the stage was set. We've got a planet. It has a stable temperature and eventually vast oceans of water. But that's all it was, a wet rock. It was still missing that one magic ingredient. It was missing life. And in the oceans of this early Earth, you had this, let's call it a chemical soup. Just simple stuff, really. Water, methane, ammonia, hydrogen. Nothing too fancy. But these very basic ingredients, they were on the verge of doing something that would change everything. So you get a zap of energy from a lightning strike or maybe some intense heat from a deep-sea volcanic vent, and suddenly, these simple chemicals start linking up in brand new ways. It's almost like the universe itself had this little aha moment. Whoa, look at that. I just made amino acids. And that's a huge deal, because amino acids are the literal building blocks for proteins, and proteins are the tiny little machines that make all life work. But going from simple building blocks to an actual living cell, that is a monumental leap. I mean, even the simplest little single-celled organism is, no joke, as complex as a bustling modern city. Think about it. It's got the city plans, that's its DNA. It's got highways to move stuff around, factories to produce what it needs, and power plants to keep the lights on. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And how this whole intricate system first assembled itself from a bunch of non-living soup, well, that's still one of the biggest mysteries in all of science. And then, for a really, really long time, not much happened. Seriously, for almost 3 billion years, life just kind of stayed simple. Little single-celled things just floating around, doing their thing. And then, bam! In what is just a blink of an eye geologically speaking, something incredible happened. We call it the Cambrian explosion. It was this sudden, insane burst of creativity, where all this complex, weird, and wonderful life just appeared. It's like life went from 0 to 60 overnight. So life was finally off to the races.
The oceans were filled with these bizarre, amazing creatures. We're talking about things with 5 eyes, weird swimming appendages, a real biological party. But the universe wasn't done throwing curveballs, not by a long shot. This cycle of creation and catastrophe, it was really just getting started. Because over and over again, life on this planet got hit with disasters on a scale you can barely imagine. Giant asteroids slamming into the surface, volcanoes erupting on a massive scale, the climate suddenly flipping out. These weren't just bad days, these were mass extinctions. Events so devastating they basically hit the reset button on evolution, every single time.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say devastating. A chart like this really tells the story. You see the biodiversity is chugging along, lots of different species, and then, boom, the number of species just falls off a cliff. We're talking, in some cases, over 90% of all life on Earth just gone, wiped out. It's a brutal, brutal cycle. But here's the incredible twist. That was never the end of the story. Think about it. After one of these events, the world is suddenly empty. All those old jobs, all those ways of living, are now vacant. And this created massive opportunities. Because life is incredibly resilient, it always bounced back. And not only did it bounce back, it usually came back even stronger, exploding with new and more diverse creatures to fill all that empty space. And the absolute worst of these, the big one, was an event we call the Great Dying. You had a supervolcano in modern-day Siberia that started erupting and didn't stop for 1 million years. Just think about that. It choked the skies, it turned the oceans to acid, it came so close to wiping out absolutely everything, to just sterilizing the entire planet.
But somehow, life held on. And as the few survivors began to recover, the world itself was changing. The giant supercontinent was breaking apart. The continents we know today were starting to drift into place. And into this brand new world, a new group of animals rose from the ashes and took over. Yep, we're talking about the dinosaurs.
And their reign was long. I mean, for 150 million years, dinosaurs were the undisputed kings. Nothing could touch them. But, as we've learned, no dynasty lasts forever. About 66 million years ago, a rock the size of a mountain, about 6 miles wide, came screaming out of space and slammed right into the coast of Mexico. The impact triggered a global catastrophe, and the age of dinosaurs ended, just like that. So, the giants were gone. The world was suddenly a much less scary place for small creatures. This single, catastrophic event completely cleared the stage, and it made room for a whole new kind of animal. One that had been hiding in the shadows, just trying to survive, to finally step into the spotlight.
And who was that? Well, it was our ancestors. The age of mammals had officially begun. These small, warm-blooded creatures just took off. They diversified with incredible speed, filling all those jobs the dinosaurs had left vacant. They became the first primates in the trees, the first whales in the oceans, the first bats in the sky, the whole shebang.
Now, among all those primates, one particular branch developed something different, something special. And it wasn't just that their brains got a little bigger. No, the real magic was in the wiring. This new brain could do things no brain had ever done before. It could think about the future. It could tell stories and have meaningful conversations. It allowed for cooperation on a massive scale. It could invent stuff, and maybe most importantly, it could pass all that learning on to the next generation. This was the spark of humanity.
So let's just recap here. You start with the instantaneous stretching of space itself. Then you forge new elements inside dying stars. You smash planets together to make a moon. You survive billions of years of, frankly, boredom, then an explosion of new life. You weather cycle after cycle of mass extinction and rebirth, an unbroken chain. 13.8 billion years of cosmic dominoes, each one falling just right to lead to us, to this moment. So, the only question left is, what happens next?